So straight up in the tier list thing, what I've got is 5 categories. And now the tier list is only for the past 20 champions. So from 2002 winners to 2021. One rule, each tier must have 4 teams, right? So I guess my suggestion is we start with like chronological order. We start with that 2001, 2002 Madrid team and then work our way through. So yeah, there we have it. The past 20 winners. Can everyone see those 20 winners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Thoughts then? The first one up, Real Madrid, 2001 to 2002. What are we thinking? The 5 tiers are all-time great. So the cream of the crop, like, they'll go down in history. You'll remember them. Solid champion, like an amazing team, but perhaps, not like a barometer team that you always point to and say they're the ones. Memorable winner, as in, yeah, you're going to remember them for years to come. Lucky to win. Things went in their favor. Fine margins. It could have easily gone the other way and should not have won. So teams that basically like fluked themselves or like were just actually quite bad, quite rubbish, and another better team should have won that year. So that's the 5 categories.
All right, let's do it.
So that first one, I think, in terms of the actual players that played for that team, so that was like the Galacticos era with, obviously, you've got Zidane, Figo, R9. So in terms of the actual players themselves...
R9 wasn't in that team, bro.
Was he not? Okay, but Zidane, Figo, obviously, Makelele was in that team, wasn't he? And Roberto Carlos. So obviously, the actual players themselves, a lot of them were in the all-time great players. But the actual team itself and the way that they played, I reckon they'd probably be solid champions.
Let's not forget, they played Bayern Leverkusen, no? In the final.
That was
the first ever time.
It was a Zidane volley final.
Yeah, Zidane volley final. They played Bayern Leverkusen. First ever time they'd even competed in there.
On the way there, they did beat Barcelona.
They beat Barcelona, yeah, that's true. But remember, that was the pre-Ronaldinho Barcelona. And this is the same Barcelona that was competing in the Europa League at that point in time.
Okay.
So, okay, fine. The options are all-time great, solid champions, memorable winners, lucky to win. I don't really consider them to be memorable winners. Other than that one goal that Zidane scored, there's nothing really memorable about that team.
But are you saying this? Okay, if we're veering on, we're saying it's not going to be an all-time great, and it's not going to be a should not have won. But are we saying that they were lucky to win? Was there a better team that season?
I don't know if there was a better team, as in there probably was a better team in the form of Bayern Munich or in the form of AC Milan, but I feel like they weren't really memorable. Like if someone asks you about great Real Madrid teams of the last, let's say, 2 generations, are they ever going to point to the fact that, oh yeah, this was the team that won the 2002?
It's the Galacticos team. I think they won, like, I don't know, but didn't that same team go on to
that Galacticos team was one of the poorest teams in terms of success for Real Madrid. Okay, the stars and the names were incredible, but
yeah, I would say that it was the kind of it's before Beckham and R9 came through, so it was a pre-Galacticos team. It was almost the early stages because they got Figo by then, right?
They got Figo, yeah, that's right.
I think we'll come back to it. We'll assess it, but the vibe
I think we should put them as memorable on the basis of their players being memorable, and obviously the Galacticos era, and this is the one thing that they did come away with. Other than that, the Galacticos didn't really do anything special.
So let's go with memorable. Let's go with memorable winner for this one, and we'll come back and assess it. So the next one, I just want to say from the off, 2002, 2003 AC Milan team won it at Old Trafford, penalty shootout. That team should not have won. And I know this is kind of going straight.
Yeah, it's penalties.
Dida, did you see how Dida was saving those penalties? He was coming. If those were penalties, and I'm putting them there, but I'm happy to take your input.
Are we saying the precedent that any game that went to final then is
no?
Not just that, but it's just a very memorable thing. The way Dida was stepping off his line, if that penalty shootout was this day and age, that all of those penalties would have been retaken.
One of the penalties says Dida was basically whispering in the striker's ear by the time he saved it. It's true. I don't see how that you don't even need VAR for that.
they're either lucky to win it or should not have won it. Like
I don't consider that AC Milan team to be memorable. I don't even think they were champions at that point in time. Like it was just they won, right?
It was that young Shevchenko team. I think he was the one that was driving that team a bit.
To be honest, the other team was probably more stacked. That was probably one of the best Juve teams as well. They had the likes of Trezeguet, Del Piero.
Yeah.
Buffon in his prime. That
Buffon,
was
prime Buffon. Yeah, that's true.
So
I mean, I'm happy to put them in should not have won for the time being.
So would I, because at the end of the day, we're going to need 4 teams to go into this category. And I think,
fuck
if
Milan,
anything,
man.
out of the 20 teams, that's definitely one marker, unless you guys think otherwise.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Keep that there at the moment.
Okay, here we go. Next one. I didn't put dates by the teams that only won it once. So Porto, you'll notice they don't have a date, but we know they won it in 03-04 when Mourinho ran down that touchline at Old Trafford. Thoughts on this one? Because, you know, on paper, a team with Benny McCarthy, was it? Costinha, Deco, Carvalho, Paulo Ferreira. Like, on paper, it's not an amazing team, but a lot of the players did go on to have.
I think they should have won it. Even their route to the final was very, very easy.
Very easy.
Like Deportivo.
Very easy.
And yeah, who did they play in the final?
I mean, that final was the weakest possible final I think I've ever seen in the Champions League.
They played Deschamps' Monaco, and that wasn't even a bad Monaco team. It was like Ludovic Giuli and
Morientes,
and there was the other striker,
was
Rotten.
Saviola there?
But come on, are we honestly saying an AC Milan team that beat Man United in penalties? And I think AC Milan that year had a tougher route than Porto had into the final as well. So I don't know. I think
I would personally place them as should not have won. Yeah. But at the same time, they are memorable. Everyone remembers them. Everyone remembers that Porto.
Yeah, but it's difficult.
They are memorable, though, right?
It's difficult with the categories then, because like a lot of these games, like then you're basing off just individual moments rather than the actual team itself, which is what I thought we were going to be checking.
Yeah, no, it's both. It's both. It's the team itself and the moments that kind of took them to the title. And I mean, both of you are saying should not have won. Kishan, you've mentioned that, you know, like they are memorable at the same time. I'm almost inclined to put them in lucky to win for now, and we can shift them around. I'll say lucky.
They were definitely lucky.
They were definitely lucky. But I wouldn't go as far as to say, did they not deserve to win it on the balance of that? I don't know, because
I think when it comes to assessing whether a team deserves to win or not, you also need to look at what they were doing prior to winning it and what they did immediately afterwards as well.
Yeah,
because so that shows you the overall strength of the team.
And that was a record-breaking kind of Porto team until Villas-Boas came along and I think broke the records again. Mourinho had them achieving crazy stats. They won the Portuguese title. They won the Europa League or whatever it was called before the year beforehand. I would say let's put them in lucky to win, and we'll come back to it again when we assess it. And we'll move on to the next one. And
should not have won it. Should not have won it.
I would say,
should not have won it. Are you mad? Are you mad?
No.
Fuck it up.
Milan,
tell me why you think they
Milan
should not
were the
have won
best
it,
team in Europe. Milan were the best team in Europe at that time. You should not have beaten them.
We should not have beaten them, but we won.
Yeah,
we
you
won.
Did win, but the title is should not have won. You shouldn't have won that game. You weren't even the best. You weren't you. Where did you finish in the where did you finish in the league that year? You weren't even the best team in England. That team. It wasn't. I won't say it was a fluke. It was a It was a spirited performance. It was a good win. But the actual players themselves, they weren't world-class players.
That year,
it was an upset. It was like Leicester when they won it. Like you could see why they won it because
hold on. But that team that got to the final beat two of the best teams in Europe at that point in time. In 2005. The best team in Europe, in my opinion, was Chelsea, the one which ran away with the league, conceded dumb low amount of goals.
Yeah.
The second best team in that year was Juventus, the one which had the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Del Piero, Thuram, Chiellini, all of them, man. We beat Juventus over 2 legs. We beat Chelsea over 2 legs. We beat
Was that
Bayern
the ghost
Leverkusen.
goal? Was that the
Yeah,
ghost
but the
goal?
actual final itself,
Ghost
though,
goal
just
was in
the
the
way it was
semi-final.
won. It wasn't.
We played in the quarterfinals against Juventus.
I remember that it was Luis Garcia almost kind of, he had pivotal moments during that season against Chelsea in the quarters, against or whichever round
He was our
played
top
them.
scorer in Europe, and
Yeah.
we beat a Bayern Leverkusen which had knocked out Real Madrid season before.
What I would say recently, I've
If-
heard Jamie Carragher himself say that was probably one of the weakest teams to win the Champions League in recent times.
On paper, obviously that team was one of the weakest teams. The likes of Jimmy Traore won a Champions League, but you've beaten the 3 best teams in Europe. One of them in the final. After
No,
going
Milan were the
3-0
best
down.
team at that time.
If someone asks
and
you
it was
what was the best Champions League final in history, you're going to give them one of 2 answers. Either you're going to give them the 99 winning team, or you're going to give them the 2005. That's indisputable.
It was memorable because there was such a difference in the levels.
But one of the options here is memorable winners. There's no
there's
team
another
that's
option that
arguably
says
more
lucky to
memorable
win. It
than
should not have
2005.
won. Like,
What
I
they-
wouldn't be
okay,
comfortable
so-
calling them
In
memorable.
what basis? If they'd had an easy run to the final, yeah, like Porto did the year before,
Yeah.
fair enough. These guys beat the best teams in Europe. Okay, the team was not good. The first XI was shit. You compare it to AC Milan, man for man, every single player in the AC Milan team would have got into ours, apart from Gerrard. That's it.
What
But
I would say, yeah.
We beat the strongest teams in Europe. So how can you say that we were lucky to win or should not have won?
So
We beat all the
see,
big
because the
teams.
players
It's not like we just had
themselves
one big game.
Because the players themselves weren't Champions League winner quality. So
Yeah, but
the fact that you did win it, which was very good, but it's one of
we
those
beat
years where
every single
one of the
top
teams
tier
that shouldn't
team
have won
in
it
Europe.
won it.
We beat
So-
the best teams in Europe. So how
What-
can you
what I
say
would
that
say,
we
there's a
should
couple of
not
things
have won or we are lucky to win?
There's a couple of things here. Jamie Carragher himself said that AC Milan for 100 and out of the 120 minutes, this is the final, admittedly, for 120 minutes they played great football, some of the best he's seen in Europe that season for 114 minutes. For 6 minutes, Liverpool really kind of turned the game on its head. Obviously, it's a memorable final, and at the same time, the route to the final was difficult. Obviously, Chelsea, Juventus, Bayern Leverkusen.
It was the most difficult.
It was
At
difficult.
that moment in time, you
But
could have
Leverkusen-
handpicked the route
but
to the final.
What,
That would have
what I
been the
would say
toughest one.
with the goal and stuff as well, there were elements of luck in there
Okay.
that went for
Let
them.
me hold you right there with regards to this ghost goal, because
Mm.
everyone mentions this. Mourinho came out and said, "Oh, the best team lost," all this shit.
Mm.
If that goal hadn't gone in, Petr Cech would have been sent off for his foul on Milan Barros.
Mhm.
Instant red card, and we would have had a penalty. The referee so much as went ahead and admitted the exact same thing. So
Mm.
in that moment, what the referee decided to do was give the goal and avoid sending Chelsea down to 10 men so that the game could have carried on. Something which Arsenal fans were begging to be done in the 2006 final when the goalkeeper got sent off. So
I
Okay.
personally,
if we
although it was
hadn't
a
scored
tough
that goal,
group,
we would have had
the
a
way the
penalty
final was
and
played,
Chelsea
it
would
was a
have had
good
10.
comeback. Ended up going to penalties. Like the actual, as Ronnie said, the actual final itself was memorable. I'd say probably the most memorable.
Look, you
in
can't
the list.
place Liverpool below memorable winners
Let's-
because
okay,
they are
okay,
memorable
okay.
Nah,
winners.
they're definitely not in the top 2. Let's agree on
The
that.
fact
vote.
that
Let's
everyone
put it to a
remembers
vote.
the route to
All-time
the
great, and
final,
they're
everyone
solid.
remembers the ghost goal. They are memorable winners.
We'll put it to a vote. Kishan, you're saying memorable winner. Keep, what do you
Memorable.
say?
I'm gonna say lucky to win.
And I'm gonna agree with Akib on this. I'm gonna say lucky to win.
Nah.
And we'll assess it. Look, we'll assess
Don't
it.
worry, bro.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to
Hey,
it.
you beat one of the best team on like some. It was a good. As a Liverpool fan, I can understand why you say, because for you that's probably and
How
the age
can
you
you-
are, that's probably the best. That's probably the
On-
best moment of your life.
On
So,
what
like, I
basis
can
are we
understand
lucky
that.
to come back from 3-0 down? I
Well,
don't understand. On what
look-
basis are we lucky to beat the best
Look,
team
you're
in
not
Europe
lucky,
at the
but
time?
you weren't the best team in Europe, and you won the title. So for that reason,
How can we be lucky to win the Champions League when we beat
Were you
the
the best
three
team
best
even-
teams in
no,
Europe?
were you
I don't
even the
understand.
best team on that day? Like, how many shots did you have? Like, did they not absolutely destroy you in terms of?
Who
stats?
won the game though? Who
Yeah,
won
but
the
that's
game?
not-
Who won the
But that's the whole
tournament?
point. You won the game, but you were lucky to win the game.
Nah.
All right.
We're not doing just the final though, are we? We're doing the whole route.
We're
You were
doing
lucky
the
to win
whole
the
route.
final. The Chelsea ghost If that isn't lucky, then I don't know what is.
Okay, if the Chelsea goal hadn't gone in, we would have won. We would have scored a penalty.
Would you have though? Would you?
They would have been down to 10 men. And let's not forget, they had 186 minutes. There was 6 minutes stoppage time.
Let's just.
And in that
I
time,
think we're
the
getting
best
getting
team
too
in
stuck.
Europe
Like
could
the
not
decision's
score a
made,
goal.
we can change it later. But let's keep it moving.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. I say we keep them as lucky to win, and we'll move on. We'll come back. We'll come back to it because we need 4 teams per tier. Next, 0506.
Shouldn't have won.
Memorable.
Shouldn't have won.
Memorable.
Nah,
Memorable.
shouldn't have won that one. Red. They got lucky.
Why?
Actually, no, they got lucky. They got a red card. We got a red card. Sent him off. They were playing with 10 men.
Okay, can I
Even
just
then-
clarify? Are we just talking about what happened in each individual final, or are we also taking into account
The
the
final
team as a whole?
Final
Is-
obviously comes into it. The final
Is-
definitely comes into it.
The
But
final is a factor, but it's not the biggest factor. It's the team. It's the way the team played. It's the route to the final. It's the performances. You can even account for how they did in the league at the same time. It's that team. If somebody says to you, Barcelona 05-06, the Champions League winners, all-time great team.
Solid champions.
Not really.
Solid champions. This is the Barcelona that kickstarted their golden era.
No, I'd say that was more the 08. That's when Messi sort of came through the system. Like
This was, I think, their second or third Champions League that they'd ever won. They had
This was
Ronaldinho,
their
who
second.
elevated himself to the best player in the world. They had Samuel Eto'o.
I think there's
who
other
onto the scene.
teams just because of what's there. There's other teams that are
It's not
in the
fair
all-time greats and
just
solid
because
champions. Instead,
just because they only beat Arsenal in the final. I don't think it's fair to place them lower than something like either solid champion or memorable winner. At the start of that season, Barcelona would have been favourites to win that Champions League, and they ended
I
up
could
winning the
find 8
Champions League.
teams that were better than that team. So they definitely won't be in the top 2 for me.
In Europe, that season, it was.
And what was memorable? Like it was more the Arsenal. The Arsenal red card was the memorable.
Arsenal were
in the
lucky to get
final.
to the final.
But you're talking about the final being memorable. I'm talking about the team itself. So if you
The
can,
team was
who
memorable.
was that team? Can you recall? So it was the Ronaldinho, Victor Valdez.
Ronaldinho, Eto'o. They had a Henrik Larsson who came on. They of course had Xavi.
Was
Was
it was a
Iniesta
young
playing at that time?
Xavi? Who else were the midfielders then? Was it Deco still?
They had Deco. They had that Mexican guy Marquez. They had
Rafael
Puyol,
Marquez, Silvinho, I think, Belletti.
Belletti. This is a strong team. This is a strong team. This
What-
is one of
yeah.
the best teams in the world at that point in time.
Yeah, one of the best. Like to
Was.
be an all-time great.
And,
A solid
and the
champion.
only issue they had
To be a
was
solid champion, I reckon you have to be
they
the
beat
best.
an
team.
Arsenal team that were lucky to make
no.
it there in the first
This
place.
is the way I see it. So to be a solid champion, you've got to be the best team that year. To be an all-time great, you've got to be one of the best teams in that whole era. And I don't think they were the best team that year, and I don't think that they were the best
Who
team.
do you think were better? Who do you think were better?
Arsenal were better.
Oh, come on, bro. You lot
That
were
was-
one missed penalty away from going out in the semis, bro. You lot couldn't even beat Villarreal
No, we didn't.
without
beat
needing
Villarreal.
that massive slice of luck. Come on. You're saying Arsenal. Where did Arsenal finish that season?
I think third.
Didn't they finish fourth on the last day because of flu?
Oh,
Tottenham.
the
Yeah,
food
that year.
poisoning season.
Come on. Arsenal are the best team in that year.
Well, Wenger was in the
Arsenal won
Marriott
that
kitchen.
final
Come
person.
on.
Oh.
Akib, tell the truth.
You're just disappointed about lucky Liverpool and being lucky to win, aren't you?
What I
Tell me the truth. Do you genuinely feel like Arsenal should have won the Champions League that season?
Oh, okay, all right. Arsenal shouldn't have won it that year, but what I'm saying.
So tell me, what other team
Why
is
I
better
wouldn't
than
have been solid champions
Barcelona in that
because
year?
of the teams, because of the teams that are remaining that I think were better teams than that Barcelona team. Even
What other team in that year should
I
have
think
won the
all
Champions
the
League?
other Barcelona teams, the remaining.
What other
Barcelona-
team in that year should have won the Champions League?
No, but it's not just that because it's a comparative ranking to the teams that have won it.
And they should be memorable. At the very least, they should be memorable.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to keep them. At
Yeah, I've got them as memorable. I don't think they were lucky to win. And from what I'm just hearing from both you were saying, we'll say memorable. We'll move on. We'll move on to 06-07. Inzaghi wins the Champions League for Milan, the revenge match. What we
Again,
say?
I think these guys were lucky to win. No, genuinely, and I'm not saying that because of the. I think the 2005 team was stronger. Than
I reckon
the
that was one of the
2017.
strongest. I reckon that was one of the strongest teams. Like,
I think the 2005 team was stronger than the 2017.
This team had a Ballon d'Or winner in Kaká. Kaká was.
Yeah,
This is just before Ronaldo was simmering. Ronaldinho was fizzling out. Cannavaro had just won it the year before. This is when Kaká was the best player in the world, and his team won the Champions League. But I think, you know,
I think
it's not should not have won. It's not like the 03, 02, 03.
They weren't lucky to win the Champions League. They were a solid outfit, but they weren't even. This wasn't even the best Milan team. The 2005 Milan team was better. 2003 Milan team was better. Remember, Shevchenko had left for Chelsea by that point. And after this particular Champions League, what happened to Milan?
Yeah, it was a scandal as well, right, in Italy that happened. So it kind of tore all of Italian football kind of apart.
I'm happy to place them as memorable, but I don't think this is.
No, I
this
put
is
them as solid champions just because of the whole what Ronnie mentioned regarding Kaká being the best player in the world. Obviously,
So-
I think Shevchenko as well.
So
I
the
think
season
they had
before,
a- they had a
Ronaldinho wasn't
pretty
the
solid
best player in the
defense.
world.
They had a pretty
They can't be solid
defenders.
champions.
Sorry, what's that?
The season before, Ronaldinho was the best player in the world.
But
Yet,
which team-
for some
which team do you
reason,
think was better
they are
between
placed
the
as
two? Do you think-
memorable winners.
Would you say that? Which team do you think was better, Milan
I would say the
07 or Barca?
I would say the Barcelona team of 2006 were better than the Milan team of 2007.
No, I think I'd go the other way around. To be honest,
I would say it's on par. And again, I'll be happy to shift it, but obviously we only
I'm
can
happy
have
to
four-
place it there for now. But
Yeah, we'll have four teams per category, so that's the reason I've got them next to each other, and it may change. It may change, so we'll leave it there, and then I don't sense massive disagreement. The next one, obviously, I got a very very heavily vested interest in. 0709. John Terry slips. Red Square is populated by Red fans. Man United win the Champions League. What are we saying here then? This is a double winning team. The team that had won the Premier League the season
All-time
before.
great.
as much as it hates me, I reckon
all-time great.
it's in the top two. It's either solid champions or all-time greats, just because that team was. It was the emergence of.
That was ridiculous. That was
Emergence of
Cristiano
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo, 42 goal. That was
Yeah.
CR7, innit? That was CR7.
I was expecting a bit more resistance in this one. I was thinking,
it's solid
No,
champions.
it's true. They won the league. They won the Champions League. They were the best team in the world at that point in time. They had the best player in the world by far. They came and destroyed the Premier League in that season as well. All
And
throughout
the
the team,
the route to the
they had
final
best
wasn't-
players.
yeah, the route to the final wasn't straightforward either. We played Barca in the semis. Obviously, that's Paul Scholes' goal at Old Trafford, 1-0 over 2 legs. I don't know if it was the season we beat Roma 7-1. It might have been, or it might have been the season before when we got knocked out by AC Milan afterwards. But yeah, I mean, you're saying all-time great. Akib, you're saying all-time great or
I
solid.
think all-time great or solid champions.
All right,
All-time great, just great.
I'm happy with
and
either
great.
one, to be honest.
we've got them in all-time
There were
great.
two great teams that Ferguson built, and this was one of them. And
Yeah.
the other one was in '99. So I'm happy to place them as all-time great because for that particular decade, that was the pinnacle of English football.
Yeah. Okay.
And to be honest, the fact that both English teams went into the final showed the pedigree of the English teams, and the fact that Man United won the title that year as well.
And also
shows
remember
that
this
English
John
that
Terry
was the
slip
strongest
can't be-
English teams have been until this moment in time, because sort of after that, then that's when the Spanish teams started sort of taking over European football. So I can, the fact that English football was so strong at that time, because I remember at that point, as an English football team fan, you'd want to play any other team, and you think your team has a chance apart from playing another English team.
United were the best team.
So United, I'll put that there.
Happy with that. I'm just going to take a little pause here to check something. How does this look? When I'm presenting like this, has there anything changed for you on the screen?
It's minimized
No,
it.
no.
So it's become smaller for me, and your pictures also come in as well.
Okay.
I prefer it the other way around, to be honest.
Yeah, let me get it back.
How is Barcelona not a solid champion, man? I don't understand.
Mate, look
But
at the
anyway.
other teams that come up. We can swap it around later. That Milan team was
Alright.
good, man. That Milan team was very,
And
very
how
strong.
can you say 05 was not memorable?
and they absolutely destroyed you in that final. Do you remember how badly they beat you? That was probably like most one-sided
Sorry,
final.
say that again.
That Milan final.
I'm
when
talking
Milan
about
beat-
Barcelona.
The 05-06.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tough game for them in the final.
Ah, come on, bro. They were
Okay.
the best team in the world at that point.
Okay. We'll move on.
Anyway,
we'll move
let's
on.
carry on.
And I think the next one, it's interesting. We'll take them one at a time, but the next one for me,
All-time great.
all-time great.
I don't think there could be
Oh,
any.
09 team.
This is not only an all-time great. This is the best Barcelona team under Pep as well.
So can we
my
do this
opinion.
then? Can we do this? Can we say 08, 09 and 010, 11? They're both all-time greats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
I'll take that.
No debate.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's sorted.
even
That's-
Fergie said it himself. Fergie said if we hadn't come up against that team in those two finals, then United could have had 3 out of 4 Champions Leagues.
Yeah. The
Oh,
fact
the
that United
team-
was so strong at that time as well.
Guardiola
that was
came
the
and
only thing
broke
that you-
football.
Yeah.
Broke football.
The passing carousel, and it wasn't just, I think in 08, 09 they had Henry as well, but Henry went from Arsenal being such a legendary player, if arguably the best player the Premier League still has seen
Yeah.
to this date, and he even went there and he was just a cog in the system because
He was subservient to Messi.
Messi, Xavi, Iniesta,
Iniesta.
David Villa,
This
Sergio
was also
Busquets.
the one where Busquets came through.
Was
That
Yaya
final.
Toure there at that time as well?
Yaya Toure was playing centre back or right back in that first final in 08, 09. So he was still there.
Puyol.
Puyol, Abidal,
Yeah.
Valdez,
No, that was
PK.
a hard team.
PK. We don't need to say much about this. I mean, 08, 09 and 10, 11, Barcelona, they are all time. It's the same team.
I think that period between 2008-9 through to 2012, that was the best team in
Yeah.
the world for those 4
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, which makes the next one interesting because a certain Jose Mourinho-led Inter Milan knocked them out in crazy fashion in the intervening year in 09-10
With 10 men as well.
with 10 men. That Goran
Very
Pandev
controversial game.
very controversial
Very
games.
heated.
Absolute scenes when the final whistle blew in that 3-1. Was it the 3-1? They won 3-1 and then lost 1-0. They lost 1-0.
Yeah.
Second leg.
They
An
went down to
absolute-
10 men second game
Yeah.
very early, and then they just locked it off.
So what are we saying about this Inter Milan team then?
All-time great.
No, come on, what?
They won. This is the first Italian team in history to win the treble.
I know, but it was an Italian league that was very, very weak at that time. That actual team was very, like, the way they beat Barcelona was, I think, rather than the skill, it was the emotion.
They not only beat
Barcelona
Barcelona,
wasn't
they
able
also
to
beat
control
Bayern Munich.
themselves in the emotion. I
How
personally,
can you?
I wouldn't
can
say
you
they shouldn't
any
have won
team
it,
that wins the
but I
treble
think they'd be in
isn't
the
an
bottom
all-time
half.
great?
like the actual team itself, do you think that team was that strong? Like, look at the other teams we've got on that list. Look at, like,
So you
even a
don't
few
think
years later,
Samuel
look at the
Eto'o was
Bayern
strong?
Munich
You
team
don't
that
think
comes
Wesley
in.
Schneider was strong? You don't think Lucio, Materazzi, any of those
They
guys
were
are strong?
okay, like, they were okay, but not all-time greats.
They're treble winners. How
Far
can you
from
put a
it.
treble winner is not an all-time great?
Yeah,
In Italian football, this team will go down as an all-time great.
in Italian football, but Italian football was extremely weak at that time.
I don't
Italian
know.
football had just gone through the scandal and stuff like that.
Juventus weren't even in there. Juventus were in the lower league. I personally don't.
The
like,
Champions League
it's
is like based
Celtic-
off just
it's like
Italian
Celtic-
teams, though.
It's like Celtic winning a European. Obviously, they won't win the Champions League, but say they won.
Look, they won the treble. They beat the team who we all unanimously agree was the best team in Europe at that moment in time.
They did, but they didn't. I don't think they were the better team when they beat them. If you get what I'm trying to say, like, I don't think they beat them because they outplayed them. Like, they bossed them in terms.
They
of
beat them
football.
because they outplayed them, because they had
No.
a better game plan.
I think they got emotional. Barcelona weren't able to handle it, and Mourinho's
They-
mind
they-
was on.
They won the first game 3-1. How can you say that they just snuck past?
No, I didn't say they snuck past, but I think it was the emotion rather than the actual football.
So,
I think this one's
so
such an
a team
interesting.
can't be emotional.
No, but those
In
look
order
at
to
the
be
top-
an all-time
look at
great.
those top three teams, they were the best team at that time by far. Like, they were the best. Like, they were goats.
Okay,
I
okay.
feel comfortable putting them there. Like, with them.
What about the Bayern Munich team then? The treble
So
winners?
yeah.
I'd put
what-
the Bayern Munich team over them.
Yeah. You say that Inter Milan can't be considered an all-time great because of the Italian league. What are we saying about the German league?
No,
There's
but
only one competitor.
But that German team was actually the best team in Europe at that time. Like,
we'll come to that Bayern Munich team, and this
like
is what
let's agree that the best team doesn't necessarily win. Like, the best team has to win that Champions League that year to be in that team. I don't think they were the best team in
the
Europe.
reason why I'm hesitant to put Inter Milan as an all-time great, firstly, is because I know this Bayern Munich team's coming, and there's probably a shout for another further team coming down the line.
Yeah, okay, fine.
So
we can't fill them all up. Put them in solid for now. It's empty anyway.
I will put them in solid for now. And yeah,
Remember.
we'll move on. We'll move on. And I want to say that the next team, 11,
Should not
12,
have won.
Should not have won.
should not have won. I mean,
Roberto Di Matteo.
Roberto Di Matteo, and just I think there were some elements there. I mean, it's an interesting debate because that route to the final was crazy. The Napoli game, when Di Matteo took over, and they were 3-1 down from the first leg, took extra time. Then there was the whole Barcelona Gary Neville orgasm. It's definitely
They shouldn't have won. I mean, this is a team which finished 5th in the league.
Even the
I
Bayern,
think
even
they
like the
finished
final,
sixth.
Bayern, they were lucky to beat Bayern.
I think they finished.
Robin missed a penalty as well in the
Yeah.
final. Messi missed a penalty in the semi-final.
Yeah,
Like-
and Alan
And
Pardew,
if you see the amount of chances that Barcelona missed.
Won.
Pardew's Newcastle finished above them in the league. The Djemba Ba and Papis Cisse finished above
Yeah.
Chelsea season.
And
They
I think Tottenham as well. They finished 4th. That's when Harry Redknapp started crying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because Tottenham finished 4th and still didn't get. All right, look, I think that Chelsea team, whilst it's memorable for the run that they had to go and win it, there were standout moments, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think they're a memorable winner. You don't look at that team in the final. Didn't they play Bertrand and someone else at left back? They had two.
Yeah, Bertrand. They didn't have John Terry either. He was
Yeah.
suspended.
Then when he
Who are
came out,
the centre back?
We came with a lift it.
John Terry's fault. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that this Chelsea team, yeah, you know, they're not gonna pull up any trees in terms of.
No, I agree.
They've had
You
some
should not have
solid
won.
teams, and there's been years previous to this where they've had better Champions League teams and they haven't won it. But just that year, the season they had, Di Matteo being their manager, I mean, I think even the most ardent Chelsea fans would say that wasn't one of their strongest team.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, interesting. The next one. I know what I want to say. I want to set the scene.
That's an
I'd say
all-time great in my eyes.
See, I mean, and okay, I'm gonna put them there for the time being, and I know there's gonna be some conversations coming up, but that 12-13 team, if I remember correctly, it was an all-German final, and both of those German teams slapped the Spanish teams. I think
Yeah.
Bayern Munich, was it Barcelona that they just completely
It's
put
something like
down?
6-2
Something like that. I mean,
on
it was.
aggregate.
Yeah, and Dortmund did the same to Madrid. It was just, and that's the Jupp Heynckes team, right?
Yeah, Heiknick's
But
team, and then
The treble winners. These are
Klopp's
It's a treble winning team.
treble winning team.
Has to be this.
Has to be an all-time great.
Has to be an all-time great. I just want to add, we have to remember that Messi was not fully fit that season. And if there had been a fully fit Messi, then maybe the result in the semis would have been different. But
Yeah, but you can't base it on.
they are treble winners, and they did destroy. They were clearly the better team throughout that competition. Even in the final, they deserved.
I think they're all-time great. I think that's sort of, if you look at that top four, all those years, they completely make sense. Like,
All right, let's go.
And I think,
next.
final mention on that Bayern Munich team, Robben and Ribery that season. I think
that's fine.
Ribery had I think he did come third in Ballon d'Or, but there was a sneaky feeling he might even kind of dethrone.
Yeah,
one
you
or
might
two.
pick them to. Post.
Yeah, Neuer as well. I think was prime. Yeah, look, that Bayern Munich.
I think it was also from a tactical point of view, because remember, up until that point, like, football was mainly going towards tiki-taka based approach. That was that victory for Bayern was the signaling that there is another type of football out now which can dominate, and that you don't just need to be able to play in pretty triangles in order to build a truly great team.
Yeah.
See, I'm very happy you pointed out that, because I'm going to come back to it once we go further down the line, because I think
Also,
all-time
this
great-
is the other reason this team is an all-time great is because they lost the Champions League to Chelsea
the season before at home,
in their own ground.
Yeah.
They lost the league that same season to Dortmund. So this is a team which has faced two of the biggest heartbreaks the season before, and
came back.
they've decided to just go out and just destroy it.
And just to pick up on the earlier point, what I was going to say is, I'm happy you mentioned that Bayern Munich came along and defined a new style, something that was not tiki-taka, that was dominating world football. And I think that almost should be something that's inherently linked with the top category of all-time great, you know, a style of football that has come and revolutionized. So when you think of the team, you just don't think of the names on paper. You think about, you know, how they're going to play, you know what they're about, which again, as I said, I'm going to come back to when we have a review of the teams that are in the all-time great category. So we'll leave Bayern Munich there and move on to the next one. So this was, if I remember correctly, La Decima for Real Madrid. 13-14, Ancelotti, finally the 13-year wait ends, something like that, I think.
Yeah. And this is a team that was threatening to win the Champions League for a few years.
That's Ronaldo's first Champions League with Real
Madrid. That was Ronaldo's first. I think the final was the last-minute Sergio Ramos equalizer. Took it to extra time, and then they smacked Marcelo, Ronaldo, Bale. They all scored, I think, in the.
And did they beat like Bayern like on the way to the final as well? Like,
yeah, they did. They did. But I mean,
and Bayern were the best team, so I think they should be memorable winners.
I think memorable because remember Atletico won the league that year.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah,
Real Madrid did not win the league, and Atletico were leading this for the majority of that game. Also, Atletico didn't have Diego Costa for the final, who was basically their key man, and it took them a last-minute header from a corner to equalize, and then it took them a deflected goal to eventually get the winner in extra time. So obviously it was an important thing. This was the 10th time any team's ever won the Champions League, but can you really say someone's a solid champion or an all-time great if they weren't the best team?
Oh, I'll definitely say they're not an all-time great, and I wouldn't even say they're a solid champion. You know, I think it's a question of whether they're.
I would be tempted to put them lucky to win. You know,
I think memorable winners.
I think there's other teams. The only reason they were memorable is because they were the 10th. This was the 10th European trophy after so long of not winning it. But would you say that they were?
Where would you put them?
That Real Madrid team was the memorable winner. I think there's
I've gone
Madrid
for lucky to win because I heard Kishan kind of canvass lucky to win just there, and Nakeeb, you said memorable winner. I just feel that I think football was at such a state. The style that Ancelotti was playing, the team that he had, whilst it was solid kind of players and good names, I don't think they kind of set the world alight and we said this Real Madrid team is a bang on certain to win it. You know, the way that they were progressing through the tournament, even the final itself, it was a last gasp. Ramos equalizer in the 93rd minute from a corner. Just looking at all the other teams that we've got yet to come and stuff, I don't think it's out of the Real Madrid teams. I don't think it's especially.
I think there's other better Real Madrid winners, put it that way.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. Just putting it with that Porto and that Liverpool team. That team still did have very, very good players, like world-class players. When they won,
they had world-class players on paper, but they weren't the best team in the league.
It's not like on paper that. They
weren't the best team in the league that season. How can you then say that they're memorable winners?
No, but we can't always.
And they were playing a team that didn't have their best player.
It's a valid point. We'll come back to it. We'll keep them at lucky to win, but I get what you're saying, Nakeeb. We'll come back to it. Let's move on to the MSN winning. So this is the Messi, Suarez, and Neymar Barcelona that won it against Juventus.
Yeah,
so
I mean, this was ridiculous.
The PSG game.
That was the
that wasn't PSG game.
This was when they played Pogba's Juventus in the final.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it was Luis Enrique.
This is where Messi made Boateng famous.
I'm very inclined to just put them there without debate, without much debate. solid team, solid champions. I mean, it was Enrique came back and Barcelona having, I think they were kind of stumbling a bit, and he came back and just grabbed them again and said, let's go. And, you know, getting Neymar in, getting Suarez in, they just, yeah, solid champions.
Yep.
Thoughts? Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
happy
happy
with that.
Cool. Okay, here we go. So the three-peat, the first year, I believe, is when they had Atletico again, and this time it went to penalties in the final. That remind me what happened in that season, the run up to the final. Well, Real Madrid, what was the route to the final? What was it like?
I think they beat Bayern Munich in the semis when Ronaldo broke the record. Like, I don't know. I think Atletico had a harder run to the final. I think Barcelona ended up winning the league that season. In that final, they were the better team. Like, it wasn't like the previous final against Atletico. They won on penalties. They probably should have finished the game before it went to penalties. I mean, I wouldn't say they were an all-time great team at that stage. But at the same time, I wouldn't be averse to putting them either as solid or as memorable.
Okay, Aqib?
I'd veer towards memorable winners, just because even when we're talking about it, there's no sort of, I wouldn't say they were solid champions that year.
There was no like a tactical shift or like something new they introduced. They had the best players.
Where did they finish in the league that year?
Second, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got them in memorable. Now, what's interesting here is we're becoming quite top heavy. So obviously, when we kind of do a final look through, it will be interesting to see how some things may shift around. But that's where we've got all-time great packed. We've got memorable winners already packed up. So in terms of the second one of the three, this was the Juventus final, if I remember correctly, the 4-1 Mandzukic overhead kick, and Ronaldo.
Solid.
Yeah,
I'll say solid champions as well.
This is the 4-1. This is they battered them.
I think that was the strongest out of the three. Out of all three of them, this was their strongest team, and the fact that this was the first time after God knows how many years that a team was able to retain the Champions League as well. It all pays into the team, doesn't it? Like that they were able to defend.
But this team, Real Madrid, had that sort of mentality where they weren't. It would have taken a lot to beat their mentality. Like, no matter what would have happened in that situation, because they'd experienced so much up until that point, there was no way they were ever gonna lose this game. I think when Mourinho talked about all this shit about football heritage and how Real Madrid hadn't really done anything in the Champions League before he came along, this was something that was building for a number of years, where they were hitting quarters, they were hitting semis. They lost, I think, one of the semis on penalties. Then they made the final. And then by this point, mentally, there was no way that they were too strong by that point to be able to sort of.
I agree. It's that whole mentality monster concept, right?
So
they had got accustomed to winning, and it was the case where Zidane, they were feared. If the draw, whoever was doing the draw, then Sepp Blatter, if he hadn't become corrupted by then, when he was holding up the Real Madrid name, you would say shit. Yeah, like I think it's
no one wanted to play that team.
Exactly. Solid champions. I think that's fine. Then we get to the last of the three-peat, the one against Liverpool. So this was the Karius final, the Benzema kind of kicking it to Benzema, Gareth Bale overhead kick. That was the final. The route to the final
was a tough route. They played Bayern Munich in the semi-final. I think they beat PSG as well along the way. They'd finished second in their group that season. So even I can't remember the team in the last 16, but even that was a tough team. I think it might have been
Ronaldo's
PSG.
Overhead kick against Juventus to knock Juventus out.
But this was also the team. No, I don't think this was. Was this that season?
It might have been
because the following season he left to go to
Juventus. He
Juve.
went to Juventus, but I feel
No,
like
it was
in the
because
round
there
of
were two
16, it was the overhead kick.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
But I could make a claim for these guys to be in the lucky to win category, and just hear me out. Why?
Right.
Yeah?
Go. Yeah.
Forget about the final for a second. Just hear
Yep.
me out. They played Juve
Mhm.
in the quarters. They won the first game.
Mhm.
That was where Ronaldo scored the overhead kick.
Mhm.
Second game was the one where Juve scored 3 on the trot and pulled
Mhm.
it back to 3-3 on aggregate.
Mhm.
And they were sending this game to extra time. In the very last minute was where I think Vasquez got fouled.
I
And
know.
they ended up giving away a penalty. This is where Buffon got sent off. They had to put Szczesny on. Ronaldo scored the penalty. So at that moment, they could have gone out. They then faced Bayern Munich in the semi-finals. A very, very strong Bayern Munich, but they're missing their key centre-backs. They're also missing Manuel Neuer. And if you remember, this is the goal that Benzema scored, which ended up deciding that tie, where I think it was Sule who played the ball back. Their reserve keeper went for the ball, realized that he couldn't pick it up, ended up doing some weird like half slide tackle, half like trying to pull out of it. Benzema had an open goal, scored. That was the goal that decided that semi.
The actual team itself
And
was
then-
strong.
And then we move on to the final. Who would you guys say is the best player in the world right now?
Salah.
Mohamed Salah.
Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah now is the same as that Salah in the 17-18 season. Mohamed Salah has scored 44 goals that season. Yeah? This is the same Salah. So one of the best players in the world goes
No,
off
it's definitely
injured
improved. I reckon it's
after
definitely
26,
improved from that
27
year.
minutes. They score through a Karius blunder. We then equalize. And then again, Gareth Bale's goal was world class. Final goal was another Karius blunder. So, it was a good team, but they did have a lot of fortune along the way, similar to what Chelsea had in their run
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
final.
Ooh, what's happened here? What's happened? Okay, we're good. Okay, look, I think you make a compelling case. Akib, any strong rebuttals from you there in regards
I mean, the actual players themselves, the fact you've got Ronaldo in there, you had
What they
Sergio
achieved
Ramos-
was great.
Sergio Ramos sort of at his sort of peak, I would say. That team, the fact is, I can understand Kish's point. He makes a very compelling case. Like, if we didn't have so many people in memorable winners, I would have put them there.
Mhm.
It seems a bit harsh putting them at lucky to win, because I feel, although
Don't
final-
judge based off what they achieved, i.e. the 3P. Base it off that
But
specific
we also have to
season.
add, like, we gave them the credit of winning the third one, winning it for the third time. That's unprecedented. So you got to give, like, that has to carry weight. They're the team that every team wants to be. They've won it for the last 2 years. Every single game they're going to, like, it's the team that everyone in Europe wants to be, to show that they.
But we can only have 4 teams in memorable winners.
The
And I do
interesting
feel
thing
like
here- yeah.
in
I
that
think-
season, they were fortunate in a lot of different senses.
So what I'm going to do, I'll put them here and I'll say why I'm doing that, right? I think the fact that we got the 16-17 team in solid champion, if anything, that's the epitome of that team. So whilst they did win it 3 times in a row and it was a solid team over the 3 years, and we give them the kudos here in 16-17 because we said that's the peak of that team. The other instances when they won it, in comparison to the others, we're saying that, it may have been lucky to win in that third year.
Let me also add, they didn't actually win the league that season. They didn't win any other trophy that year. Their season was
Actually.
over by around March because they were so far away from the
This was like the last dance, wasn't
eventual
it,
winners.
Barcelona team.
Yeah, it was
Sorry,
like the
that's
last
ridiculous.
dance. And in fact, in the build-up to that final, there were talks that Zidane needs to win this trophy to make it a successful one because they were flailing in all
Yeah.
other elements.
I do remember that. I think that's fair. Now, okay. So this is where I'm gonna say something quite well. It's for you guys to decide. Liverpool, 18-19, corner taken quickly. I think there's only 2 categories that this team can really go into. 1 being solid champion, and 2 being all-time great. Now, the reason why I say all-time great is we spoke about the Barcelona, Pep's Barcelona, and Jupp Heynckes' Bayern Munich defining a style of football. Gegenpressing was something that was already being shown across Germany, but it hadn't got its kudos yet on the Champions League stage by having a winner that's playing that style of football, that heavy metal football, lift up the trophy until Liverpool, Jordan Henderson did. So I guess over to you guys. What do you think? All-time great or solid champion?
So I think, just to add some context to that particular season, we played PSG with Mbappe and Neymar in the groups. We played Napoli, the good Napoli team, in the group stages. We had to win the final game in order to qualify. We then play Bayern Munich, who at the time were no slouch. In the final 16. Sorry?
That's when Mane ripped them apart.
That's when Mane became this Mane that we know. That was the game that, he really blew up and came onto the scene. At the same time, again, Barcelona, people will probably say that they were the favourites to win the Champions League at that point in time.
And they were 3-0 up in the first leg.
Yeah, that's it. But you know what the mad thing was? That first leg, we were the better team. If you watch that game, we had so many more chances. And in fact, there's a scene towards the end of that game where we're chasing. It's already 3-0 by this point. We're chasing the game, and Messi and Dembele break away. It's 2-on-1. Messi squares it to Dembele. Dembele fluffs his lines. And at that moment, you can see Messi visibly upset. Like, the guy was so distraught that Dembele had bottled this chance to get the fourth goal. And you almost got the feeling at that point in time that he knew what was to come in the following leg. And he knew that this game, like, even though it was 3-0 at the time, it wasn't reflective of how the actual game had gone. And in fact, I'd say we probably played better in that game compared to the 4-0. But, I mean, for me, I think 1 inch probably separates us from all-time great, because if we don't lose that game to Man City in the league in January, we go unbeaten, we go Centurion, we go Premier League and Champions League double winners, and that's 1 inch. So I say for that reason alone, the fact that we didn't win the Premier League in that season, I'd be happy for us to be a solid champion.
Yeah, I saw was going to say the same thing that he said. The fact that they didn't replicate that Champions League with like a domestic Premier League title, which if you look at the other 4 teams,
the other ones all did.
They all did. So that's what sort of makes them into the all-time great. But I think that team was as close to getting to that didn't actually make it. If that makes sense.
They almost kind of belong somewhere like here.
Yeah, but it's the fact that they didn't win the Europe, but they that was probably one of the closest. Well, I won't say it was the closest. Obviously, the Aguero season was the closest, but that Liverpool team took Man City to the wire as well. So,
but do we think that if that same Liverpool team had been placed in, let's say, the era where United did the
but you can't compare eras like that.
Liverpool had been placed in the German league and played in that league, would they have been considered all-time greats?
I don't think you can compare different eras like that. Football changes, ways of playing are changed, so players get different sort of nutrition, like sports science moves as well. So obviously football teams now are going to be a lot more developed, a lot more care is being given to these players. So I don't think you can compare 2 different eras.
I'm talking about 12-13.
No, I personally just think you base it on that season.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I was very happy. I was very happy to hear the argument to put this Liverpool team ahead of Manchester United in all-time great. So the United team that we have in all-time great to put, but then it's true. It's that kind of thing where that United team had won the league the season before and then the season after, albeit the level of competition perhaps was not as fierce as it was for Liverpool against City. But then it's Aqib's point of you can't really compare exactly like for like, because football does move on.
You can't. And I guess it does come down to a lot of fine margins in terms of, like, for example, the all-time great team Ronaldo that we've got there and
Mm.
United.
Mm.
If it hadn't been for that Terry slip,
Yeah.
we
Exactly.
wouldn't be putting them all-time
Exactly.
great, right?
Exactly.
But
That's yeah.
but I'm not disputing the fact that sometimes it is these sorts of fine margins. So
Mm.
I'm happy with solid champion.
Yeah.
I'm happy with
Cool.
that.
Cool. Right. Last two. I'm going to go in reverse order now because I think it's easier to do it this way.
Yeah.
The most recent
Chelsea
champions
shouldn't have won.
should not have won. I think. I don't. Kishan,
Nah, I agree. I agree.
Should
They
not-
had an easy run. They had a mixture of the like teams which have a great name, but at the same time we're not doing that well, you know.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, who did they beat in the semis? Was it Real?
It was Real in the semis, I believe. Yeah, it was. And then
And then
City.
in the final, I
It
mean, the
was-
final. Let's be honest, they basically
Tottenham in
just
the
came
final.
and shithoused
It
Man
was-
City.
yeah, it was.
City.
They shit house, and then it was Pep Guardiola overthinking, not playing a DM, a proper recognized number 6 in that game, and De Bruyne went off injured, and it was.
And
it
they
wasn't even-
finished 4th on the last day,
And
Yeah.
they struggled in the league, got rid of
and they
Lampard.
lost the FA Cup.
yeah,
That wasn't that great.
yeah, yeah. Did they lose their FA? Yeah, they lost their FA Cup to Leicester as well. Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
look,
I think this was the Tielemans goal, right?
the Tielemans goal. Yeah, the screamer. I think. Yeah, it's fair to say that Chelsea team. If anything, that Chelsea team should not have won. A bit. It's a stronger should not have won than the other Chelsea team.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, now last one. This was Bayern Munich, the Kingsley Coman goal against PSG in the final. I think it's a solid team. Now the question becomes: we've only got one slot left, so here we can do our review almost to see if every other team is where it should be. Because if, for example, we say this team is a solid champion, then it will cause a ripple effect to knock things down. If we say it's a
Okay.
memorable winner, it will cause a ripple effect. If we say lucky to win, it will cause a ripple effect. So what are your thoughts about this Bayern Munich team, 2019-20? This is during the lockdown. The competition had a bit of a weird shake-up where there was only one leg from the quarters onwards, I think.
I think again we talk about like tactical shifts
Mhm.
in terms of defining a team as an all-time great or as a solid champion.
Mhm.
Obviously, you had Pep's tiki-taka, then you had Bayern Munich's sort of 12-13 gegenpress, Liverpool kind of sharpened that, etc.
Mhm.
This Bayern team brought in a mad tactical shift in terms of the level of high line that they ended up playing. I mean, this is a team which were basically starting out on the halfway line
Mhm.
and were very, very happy to play with that risk, even in the biggest games. Like they're playing the likes of PSG in the final against one of the fastest strikers in world football, and they're perfectly happy to have their defenders
Mhm.
bang on the halfway line.
Mhm.
However, at the same time, you got to remember that season, the German league started a lot earlier than all other leagues,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So when it came down to sort of the business end of the season, Bayern Munich was starting to hit the prime because they
But didn't
started
everyone have like a bit
started
of a
ahead of
break?
everyone else.
Did it start after the COVID break before everyone else? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they started.
they started- Bundesliga started.
A good 2 to 3 weeks earlier than everyone else. Also, they had the advantage that their league they wrapped it up pretty quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, in the first point that you made, like the actual team itself was very strong. The style of football they played was very strong. I personally would put them as solid champions.
Okay, noted. Kishan, where would you put them?
I would put them between memorable winners and solid champions. Memorable purely and not solid purely because it was one leg and you don't know. Okay, Barcelona, they swatted aside, but over 2 legs, would they have gone with the same sort of mentality? I don't know. Also, the fact that they did have more preparation time than most other teams. Also, the final, it wasn't exactly as if when Barcelona played United in those finals, it was clear. Ferguson said himself that Barcelona were the better team.
Mhm.
Would you say that Bayern Munich were clear of PSG at that point? Remember, there was that chance that Mbappe missed.
Yeah,
They
I
scored
wouldn't say-
one goal.
yeah. basically, I want one name from you. Which is the weakest team out of the 5 here?
Me, I'd put the Inter Milan team.
Okay. You say Inter Milan.
Bruv, how can you put a treble-winning team as
I
memorable?
know, but the
winner?
Italian team was very weak that year.
Bro,
And
they won the fucking treble. How are you stupid?
I don't know.
What other treble-winning team are you going to put
But
there?
do you think that they were strong? Do you think they were stronger than that Bayern team?
Which Bayern team?
He's
That
talking about the
19
1920 team.
The
I think
1920.
The 1920 team.
I
yeah.
think the other no. Okay.
Because
out of
there were
out
mitigating
of the solid
factors in
champions-
Bayern's
out of the solid
Champions
champions,
League.
which team do you think is the weakest out of them? Like
1920 Bayern.
no. So get rid of Bayern. So which team do you think is the weakest? That Barcelona team was better than them. The second year of the Champions League triplet team was better, and that Liverpool team was better. So
yeah, no, we agree. So it's out the fight. You got to include Bayern. So it's almost a shootout between Inter
so
and Bayern.
Bayern.
Yeah,
Bayern won the league. Bayern won the league that year as well.
Yeah, but they were, like I said, there were mitigating circumstances. They also played substantially less
But then you
games
can also say
than
those
Inter Milan
mitigation.
to win the
No,
league.
you can. You can also say those mitigation circumstances made it tougher for them because obviously you had COVID, you had the uncertainty around that as well. So that could have been tougher as well. So
yeah. So look,
Would it have
what
been
we're doing,
tougher though? Consider it. They started the league earlier than everyone else. They'd already wrapped up their league, which means they could wrap up their players in cotton.
yeah,
wool.
but it
When you're
happens.
going-
It happens.
when you're
It
going
happens
for-
sometimes where you have a final and you don't have like 2 weeks where you don't really have a competitive game and you can lose that psychological edge that you need. That's happened before.
They also
as well.
played it. Hold on, they also played in an empty stadium.
yeah. Look, what we're doing, 1 vote each. Akeem says Inter Milan. Kishan says 1920 Bayern.
Munich.
Munich. I say Munich.
Okay.
Yeah, I
2-1.
agree.
2-1. Now, same thing again until we get 4 in each row. Memorable winner. Let's look across the 5 here. I want 1 vote each. Just instinctive, 1 vote. Who's the weakest? I'll start with the key.
Which
Who's
Milan team is that? 2007.
06-07.
I
06-07.
say Galacticos.
The Galacticos. Kishan, 1 vote.
Yeah, I would say Galacticos. I agree with that.
I agree. Consensus. 3 at the back consensus. Down goes Real Madrid. Last one. 5 teams. Galacticos, Mourinho's Porto, Benitez Liverpool, and then Ancelotti's Madrid, or the last Zidane, the third of Zidane's 3 in a row. Which is the weakest?
Let's be honest.
Porto.
Yeah, exactly. It's a travesty that a team that's not Spanish, Italian, German, or English didn't win the Champions League.
Bit of favoritism there in terms of kind of league.
It was between them and Liverpool.
No, it's true though. Come on, historically, and like throughout, when would you ever expect a Portuguese team to win the Champions
Benfica have won it before, and what would you say if Ajax won this year? Sebastian Haller scored.
I'd say they shouldn't be winning it. I'd say they're lucky to.
Yeah,
They were
terms of
lucky
the budgets,
to make
I
it to the
agree with you. In terms
semi-finals.
of the budgets of the other European teams,
Exactly
and
why
players
I
that they
agree
had
that
as
they
well.
should
The
not
fact
be
that
winning
Porto
it.
won it, they were.
That if Ajax win the Champions League, that's absolutely damning to the rest of Europe because they have a budget which.
Ajax are an institution that, like, if they've won Champions Leagues before,
But
they
Porto
have
don't
to
have
go.
that.
But you have to admit that there's a failure on the side of Man City, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich if they let a team like Ajax go and win the league, win the Champions League.
to an extent, but this is the beauty of football. You know, it's not just a case of who has the biggest kind of purse strings that can spend their way to it. Ajax winning the Champions League. Firstly, Erik ten Hag, he's probably the most sought-after manager in terms of up-and-coming managers. The style of football has always been with them for the past 50 years, ever since Michaels and Cruyff and all of that kind of stuff. You know, and the way the team's playing now, even 3 years ago, this team was up and coming with.
Who would you put in then? Who would you if you're saying Porto? Which team would you put instead of Porto?
Oh no! Look, I think looking across.
I think everyone agrees that Porto should have won.
I think we're happy with the tier list. This is our tier list of who we think the past 20 years, the way the team should be ranked. And we'll come back to it. I'll close off with that. But just as a side point, Ajax winning the Champions League this season would not be so much as a travesty, but more so a victory for football in its purest sense.
I think there's other teams which
There will be
which
an
should
element.
very
There will be an
disappointing.
element of luck if they do win. Like they won't be able to beat the heavyweights of Europe.
There's no way.
Based on
As
football
in,
ability.
Ajax are not the. Ajax should not be considered even in the top. Maybe
Even the
4 or
Ajax
5.
team now, the Ajax team of a couple of years ago when they did have
This Ajax team is worse than
Ziyech.
the.
On paper, this Ajax team is probably worse, but they probably got a better manager right now.
Wasn't it the same manager? Ten Hag was.
Yeah, same way.
I thought Ten Hag only came last 2 seasons. Maybe, all right, let me rephrase that. Their manager is much more experienced now to navigate.
They're
them.
definitely more experienced because if they had the same experience, if this was the semi-final again this year against Tottenham, they would have locked that game off.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Ajax team was actually all right. He had De Ligt, it had
De
But
Jong,
you know what
Ziyech.
the other reason why that Ajax team did so well is
Mhm.
because they almost had this element of surprise. If you remember in the Real game, the one where they knocked out Real, I think Real were winning 2-0 from the first leg, and Ramos got a yellow card on purpose.
Yeah, so
So that-
he could just miss that
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
and yeah, I remember that.
Exactly. So there was a lot of underestimating Ajax, which played into their hands because teams probably went a little bit more aggressive against Ajax than they would have had they known the sort of attacking capabilities they had.
Yeah.
The key
It's the
thing
same-
is, how did Ajax do the following season? I'm pretty sure. I think they went out in the group stages.
Yeah, but
following
that team
season.
was starting to be dismantled slowly. And I think it's the same thing. The element of surprise definitely is a factor because Monaco did the same thing with Mbappe and co.
Yeah.
couple seasons before. So Ajax
And same
almost-
with Dortmund.
Yeah. So every so often you get these teams that come along that have low-key built a good team, are a well-run club that can, get players playing in a certain way that fits their philosophy, and it reaps dividends. But obviously, it doesn't always take them all the way to a trophy, especially in the European stage. But I think, okay, to go back to our tier list to kind of bring it all to a close, here we have it. So we're saying that Milan, the Old Trafford winning Milan team, Porto, and the 2 Chelsea wins, they should not have won. The lucky winners were Real Madrid, quite in a few occasions, with Liverpool also getting in there. Then one night in Istanbul. Memorable winners that would be easy to recall: Ronaldinho's Barcelona. The first the first of the three-peat, for Zidane, as well as Kaká's Milan and Flick's Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Then the solid champions, the ones that again will go down in history: Mourinho's Inter Milan, Enrique's Barcelona, Zidane's pinnacle of his three-peat, and then Klopp's heavy metal Liverpool team, and then all-time great. We're in agreement that Fergie's double winning Premier League, Champions League, Man United, Pep's Barcelona, I think, say no more about them. Amazing. And then Nix's Bayern Munich, Robben, Ribery, all-time great. All in agreement, lads?
Yeah.
That's agreement. One last question.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to win the Champions League this year?
Yeah, let's. You know what? That's good because we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it on future sort of discussions. Champions League this year.
I think
That's
Pep's
right.
going to break the duck with Man City.
You think Pep?
I think Pep's going to break the duck with Man City.
How long have we been saying Pep's going to bring the
I
Champions
know,
League?
but I think it's inevitable now. I think
Pep hasn't won the Champions League at Bayern.
what?
Hasn't won
Yeah,
the
but I think he
Champions
needs
League
to
at
get
Man
that. He needs to get. Pep's such a great manager. He needs to get that monkey off his back of beatings, and it's going to happen one day. It's Pep's too good, and I think this Man City team is as good as any other team.
Even though
the world.
Liverpool could conceivably be level on points with them.
Yeah, no, the Liverpool team is good, and to be honest, the Premier League will not make it easy for them. But in terms of other teams in Europe, I'd say Man City is one of the best teams. If they won it, it wouldn't be inconceivable.
See, you've given a very logical argument. I think, they're probably the bookies' favourites as well. And there's a couple of teams that are looking to break that duck. Poch is trying to do it with PSG. See, yeah, I think, obviously, Kishan might give a similar answer, but his one has a lot more weight if you follow your heart with a team that's in the Champions League. So I can easily say Man United, But
No,
But-
that would be should not have won it.
you know what? That
Out
should.
there.
That, yeah. I think automatically you could just put them in. I'm gonna go with, as sad as it is to say, I think Pep would win it with Man City. It's all dependent on the draw, but I would say Pep, and I would go on further to say, with Man City's focus being on the Champions League, probably see Liverpool coming and taking the Premier League.
I think Liverpool are going to win the Champions League,
And
and
Premier
that's not based off
Emotions. No, not at all.
It's not though, because we have the best attack in the world. We have a lot of European experience now.
Yeah, no, Liverpool do have a very strong team, and
Bro, we have the hardest group.
a Salah
possible.
injury, a Van Dijk injury, and I think you guys look a lot weaker.
Yeah,
whereas
maybe.
Man City are a lot more robust as a team. I think
Really? Would you if you compare Man City's team now to Liverpool's team? I mean, I don't know.
Say
You look at the
Salah's
bench
injured.
they had against
Say
Tottenham. it
Salah's
wasn't that
injured.
good.
Say Salah's injured. Do you think Diaz, Firmino, and or say Diaz, Jota, and Mane?
So who are the second two top scorers in the league?
It's Salah, then Jota, then Mane. It's like 19, 12, 11. Crazy. I think.
We
All
lost
right.
Salah for over.
Or Van
Aston. We
Dijk
won
gets
every single
injured.
game.
Or if Van Dijk gets injured, Konate and Matip going to be strong enough?
The only injury that could derail us is Van Dijk's.
And Alisson
Mm,
and Trent. If Trent gets injured, your other right.
Yeah, Trent
are not
would be a
are not
miss.
that strong.
Trent would be a miss. But
Your central
Salah's
midfield-
injury might not necessarily derail us.
Fabinho, maybe Fabinho getting injured is
Fabinho, I don't know, because we've been okay in games where he hasn't played.
let's see.
I think, yeah, look, all right, we've got two Man City, as much as it hates and pains me to say, and we've got one Liverpool. Ooh, okay, and we're currently at halfway stage of the first knockout round. So I think the draw will be telling. Perhaps a future video once the quarterfinals have drawn up is one that we can look at doing. Well, look, thank you very much, lads. I think we've got a good agreement in terms of our tier list of the last 20 Champions League winners. And yeah, look, we'll be definitely back for more.
Sounds
Alright.
good. Catch you guys soon.
All right.
Is
Adios.